Hello, this is Eric. Today is March the 20th, 2023. And in this video, we will be addressing the second Vargas government. Yeah, the old man, the good old man is back to the executive power. And, well, we're going to watch now. You can see here, one of the pictures showing, the beginning of his second government, his second term as president. And we're going to watch the first announcement by Getúlio Vargas to the nation, right? And then we'll be discussing the characteristics of the second government, right? The video is in Portuguese, and I voice it over to you so that you may understand it in English, right? So let's go. Getúlio Vargas speech, 1951, Workers' Day. Workers of Brazil. After almost 6 years away, during which I've always kept in my thoughts the image and the memory of the grateful and long period that I've lived with you, I am here again on your side to address my fellow citizens from other times. And also to say that I'm back in order to defend the interests most legitimate of the people and to promote the indispensable measures to the well-being of the workers. This party, on May 1st, has for me and for you a symbolic expression. It is the first day of meeting between the workers and the new government. And I am thrilled as I return to being with you in this environment of joy and of national party, in which we are seeing each other right here, and also an occasion in which the government speaks to the people from friend to friend in a simple, loyal, and honest language that I've always had with you. Workers of Brazil. I have not been elected under the exclusive flag of a party, but because of an exciting and irresistible movement by the popular masses. I was not sought after in reclusion so that I could merely replace people or changes of staff. My election had a much greater meaning and a much deeper meaning, because the people follows me in the hope that my government may edify a new era of true social and economic democracy. And not only to lend its support and solidarity to a democracy that is merely political and that does not know social equality. Lose the delusion. All those who intend to separate me from the people or separate it from me. We are together. And together we shall always be in the joy and in the hardship, in the days of party, such as today, and in the hours of pain and sacrifice. And together we shall rebuild a better Brazil where there's more economic security, more social justice, better standards of life, and a new atmosphere of safety and well-being for this good and generous Brazilian people. Well, you could hear the jingle saying, place the portrait of the good old man, and other things, that would go like, because we work happily by looking at his portrait. So here we are in the second Vargas government, right? And although one may use many things to accuse Getúlio Vargas of being a dictator, of being a cruel and cold-blooded president, right? Because of the time in which he was head of the nation during the New State days. So in spite of all of that, one cannot ignore the fact that Getúlio Vargas was loved by the mass of workers, right? Really, the masses of workers loved Getúlio Vargas for all that he did in favor of the proletariat, right? And this is the reason why he was reelected, right? So, right in the beginning of his government, we could see a strong economic nationalism, right? So that is, we could see the government intervening in the economic policy really often, right? We also saw the creation of the National Bank for Economic Development, founded in the following year after this announcement in 1951. And the National Bank for Economic Development aimed at re-equipping ports and railways and increasing storage capacity and the electrical potential of the country. So here, one can clearly see that Vargas had in mind turning Brazil into an industrialized country, right? A country that could be technologically developed, right? So this is really something that we can clearly see in the second government. And now, as I said, he no longer came as a dictator, but as a politician that embraced democracy. And I think in spite of the importance of the creation of the BNDE and the other things that he did right in the beginning of his second government, it is really unquestionable that the foundation of Petrobras and all the oil is ours campaign was one of the most amazing things that happened during his second government, right? So we are going to watch here another video that I'll be voicing over. And this video is really about the foundation of Petrobras in 1953 and the Oil is Ours campaign. Okay, let's watch it once again. Oh, I mean, let's watch it for the first time, but let's watch one more video. Let's go. On October 3rd, 1953, President Vargas sanctioned Law 2400, creating the oil state monopoly and Petrobras. When Petrobras was created, Brazil produced only 2,700 barrels of oil per day in few commercial fields of the Concavo Baiana region. And our refinery farm would only meet a small fraction of the national consumption of derivatives of oil, almost fully supplied by imported products. Getúlio Vargas has signed an important message to the National Congress related to the industrialization of the national oil. This year marks the onset of a new phase in the emancipation of the national economy. More than creating a company, the gesture of President Getúlio Vargas sanctioned a dream of sovereignty that led thousands of people along decades to dedicate the best of their lives to proving a thesis. Brazil gathered all the necessary conditions to dominate with its own means the whole production cycle of the most valuable assets of the 20th century. A dream that culminated in one of the greatest campaigns of our history, summarized by a watchword that dominated the political scenery in the late 40s and early 50s. The oil is ours. All right, so this was quite an achievement of Getúlio Vargas because really the United States had its eyes on the Brazilian oil, right? That was clear. And against all odds, Getúlio Vargas created Petrobras, the national oil company. And that, on the other hand, really did not please, the Americans. And as a consequence, we had the reduction of the U.S. loans to Brazil. If you watched our first video on Getúlio Vargas, you remember that in his new state days, he received a great loan. He got a great loan from the United States. But now, due to his posture of nationalizing the Brazilian industry in every possible way, the USA decided to reduce, the loans granted to Brazil. Also, we saw in these days an increase in inflation in Brazil. Why? Because of the currency devaluation policy established by the government to try to make Brazilian products, Brazilian commodities more competitive outside of Brazil. And, still concerning the nationalism that Vargas was trying to implement here and that Vargas was really working hard to establish here, we had as the last straw, because, and I'm telling you that because, all of that nationalism, all of that effort by Getúlio Vargas to found and to make, the national industry thrive, all that effort by Getúlio Vargas caused him way too much headache. Criticism to his government increased day by day. We had inflation going up. And we had people like Carlos Lacerda that really, really criticized, this new way, this new Getúlio Vargas way of governing Brazil. And the last straw was the 100% increase in the minimum wage approved by the Vargas administration. The bourgeoisie in Brazil, the entrepreneurs, the companies, the company owners, they were like, "What? Are you crazy, Vargas? How can we cope with that? It is impossible. We already had all the regulations that you stipulated in your previous term, and now you're doing this nationalism thing. We no longer have all the support we used to have from the United States." And now you want us to pay 100% more to the proletariat. That's impossible. So that measure was announced by Vargas on May 1st, 1954. And really, since Vargas was pretty criticized, by the bourgeoisie, by the middle class, and he had people like Carlos Lacerda criticizing him all the time. He had pressure from the USA and from other capitalist superpowers, but especially from the USA. In view of all of that, Getúlio Vargas decided to get closer to the masses. Why? Because it was the masses that really supported him, that put him in power. So he was addressing these masses when he decided to establish the 100% increase in the minimum wage. And, well, right after this measure, he received opposition also from the conservative wing of the army. That was called the Colonel's Manifesto. And also the business community, as I said, they were really mad at Vargas at the time. So we had from this point a political crisis established in the country. The opposition to the Vargas government was really unbearable. By this time, we had, as I said, Carlos Lacerda, a journalist and politician of the National Democratic Union, always criticizing him. And more and more, Getúlio Vargas would get opposition from the sectors that support economic liberalism, right? And then, still in 1954, in Rio de Janeiro, we had the event of the attack on the Toneleros Street against Lacerda, his big mate. And in this occasion, they tried to kill him, but they ended up killing Air Force Major Rubens Voss, right? He was he was working as the guard to Carlos Lacerda, right? And he was shot in the place of Lacerda. So the investigations started, and they pointed to Gregorio Fortunato, head of Getúlio's personal guard, as the mastermind of the attack. But later on, we would we would find out that really Getúlio Vargas didn't have anything to do with that, or was not directly involved with that. That was something that really came from Gregorio Fortunato. However, that was really, I have already said that, stuff before that had been the last straw, right? But that was the last straw. Because Vice President Café Filho breaks with Getúlio Vargas, and the army now demands Vargas' resignation. In view of all this pressure, Getúlio Vargas feels depressed, and he decides to commit suicide. So he writes a letter in which he narrates all those events and all the opposition he had been receiving during the second government. And, in this letter, he says that he is now departing from social life and entering into history. Right? And due to this suicide committed by Getúlio Vargas, populism in Brazil still gains some extra force, right? So for 10 more years until the military revolution, we're going to see more populists in power, in the executive power in Brazil. But really, this suicide of Vargas ended up weakening his opposition, and as I said, gave some extra power to the populism in Brazil that would be implemented by other presidents. Okay, so now you're gonna watch a video of his funeral in Brazil, and you can see in this video the masses of workers that would follow him. It is something that really had never been seen in any other time of the history of Brazil until then. Okay, let's watch it. This is Carlos Lacerda. Oh yeah, the Vargas suicide took place on August 24th, 1954, and now we're gonna watch the video. Well, that's it. Thank you so much and see you in our next video.